Hello and welcome to the Dog Savant Podcast. My name is Brett Endies. I am your host. I am a professional dog trainer, and the reason for this podcast is to share my experience with you if you are a dog or puppy owner seeking training and behavior advice, if you're a client in the real world looking to complement the work we are doing together, and if you're just anyone interested in dog training, dog behavior, the life of a professional dog trainer, this podcast is for you. I always ask, please don't forget, rate, review, share, subscribe. Some of you don't do that. I would really appreciate it. It helps other people find this. This information has been proven to work in the real world, and when followed, it can help you as well. So please don't forget to do that. You're also welcome to ask questions. info@thedogsavant.com. If you're in the Los Angeles area, you can access my website for training. It is dogtrainingla.com. I also am doing training in the Las Vegas area as well now, so you can contact me through that website too. And I also do Zoom online training sessions. If you are not in my local coverage area, they work great. So please, if you are in need of my help, I can help you in that way as well. Okay, so today is episode 107, and today might get a little ranty. I'm going to talk a little bit about, I'm going to call this podcast The Mindset That Ruins Everything. Right? And I am going to keep this in the dog realm and not get too political. If you are listening to this, you may be able to read between the lines where I stand on a lot of elements of life other than the dog realm. But being an expert in this area for as many years as I have, I feel that I have a right or responsibility to share my voice, opinion, experience to anyone who might bother to listen. So, I, a couple days ago, had, as someone who's in the dog realm, I get a lot of just, sponsored ads come through on my Instagram and social media for dog products. And one of them was it was supposed to be something that revolutionized the pee pad. It was a pee pad, right? And in my experience, pee pads, potty pads, wee-wee pads, they're only good if there is an emergency situation, and more often than not, it's just if you have an old dog or a dog that's sick and they no longer have the ability to hold their bladder. With that said, any dog, any size, and even at a later age, if you have to do remedial potty training work, they can learn to be potty trained, which means unless there is a medical issue, the dog can actually learn how to hold it as you teach them increasingly longer and stay clean indoors and be able to relieve themselves more or less on command outdoors at the scheduled times as long as it is appropriate to their age and abilities. And most adult dogs, once they are taught properly, can hold it 6 up to even 8 hours a day through a normal work day. And even young puppies, I get reports all the time that the dogs will start holding it even overnight for 8 or 9 hours right away, even though they're young, because they figure out how to take advantage of the bathroom opportunity before bed, go to the bathroom, they know they're going to go in a crate or some other space where they're going to be more likely to hold it, and they realize it's the opportunity to relieve themselves to completion so they can go the longer stretch. And of course, a real well potty trained dog, you start, every couple hours when they're younger and build that up to, like I said, 6 to 8 hour days using the crate and whatnot as a way to develop that skill. So, I, with all that understanding, had posted and just put a little link on the comment to my my podcast. I think it was the last one I did about potty training. You can actually teach your dog to be potty trained or something to that effect. And then I saw there was a comment the next day about something like, "That's cute and condescending," and I'm just going to paraphrase because I don't have it in front of me. And it basically said, "You can't potty train small dogs, and you must be wealthy if you think that, good that you can afford." There's the whole victim mentality. That's what I'm going to get into here in a sec. Like, "Oh, that's so great. You have it all for you." And it's like, well, first of all, let's go down. And this is how I responded, right? You can look on my Instagram. I put a screen capture of it up in a post. First of all, small dogs can be potty trained. Number one, I've trained thousands of small dogs, puppies and older, including my Yorkie, who's 4.5 pounds, and she's been potty trained. And when I got her, she was not. She was taught to go on pee pads, and it was a disaster. She had no ability to hold it. She was peeing everywhere in addition to the pee pads. And if I'm a responsible dog owner, I make sure that I can be home to accommodate her within the time frame she needs to be let out, or I do hire a dog walker. So right there, yes, you can potty train dogs that are small, of any age, or any size, because I've done it with many, many unrelated people, and they've all told me, unless I'm living in a delusional land, that it actually is a skill that their dog was able to achieve. With that, I also know that dog walkers, you can go on Wag or Rover or just find your local neighbor's kid And you can get someone, if there's, a need where you work too long hours or whatever it is, where maybe you didn't assess your schedule before you got a dog, or your finances, you can spend $10-15 to get a dog walker. Most people can afford that, especially if it's not every day, right? So even that, right? Again, it was just, this is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with this in so many elements of the world. People have been trained to be poor victims. I'm going to tell you my story a little bit. I've shared it before, but I'm going to tell you a little bit more about what I've overcome. Because I don't buy this shit. Most people I know, they were not handed things. Nothing was easy. We all had our own struggles, trials, and tribulations, right? But it's the poor dog, and I'm going to be the savior, the whole deal, right? And then I think it was, I forgot the other part, but it was basically along that, in that vein of, well, it must be nice for you, and if you're entitled, it's easier for you, and these poor dogs need to be accommodated, and the crate is mean, and the whole mindset that is bar none, 158% the contributor to why there is an epidemic of dogs with behavioral problems, and the information is pandering to misguided owners who, in most cases, when you educate them and demonstrate and explain clearly, rationally what is going on and what is needed for their dog's training and to resolve their issues, they're on board and they get it. But you have a lot of people pumping the information, or a lot of these rescues. This lady ran a rescue, I think, a small dog rescue, right? And again, I just came back saying, like, look, you don't have to be wealthy to hire a dog walker. I think there was a few other things. And then I basically said, look, and this is, again, you can kind of tell what someone is by how they present themselves. Like, boy, imagine someone coming with that virtue signaling, social justice, narcissistic insanity, because you're someone who puts a profile of yourself wearing a mask in your Instagram page, all this stuff. It's just all par for the course. And again, read between the lines what I'm trying to say, people. I don't care. You know what? If you get the merit of what I'm saying, you're going to become a client anyway. And if you don't, I probably don't want to work with you. I don't need to do all this anymore, to do this dance, trying to make people feel good. I'm going to tell you what's going to help your dog. And that's, again, I didn't even do more than just say, look, you can teach your dog to be potty trained. Here's a podcast explaining it in depth as to how you can do this. And I get that as pushback, and that happens so often with people. It's just, it's like a couple weeks ago when that guy wanted to attack me because he was so ready to go out of some issue he had, and because he thought under the guise of being a savior to animals, he was going to kill another human. That was justified to try to attempt that. And this is the human who's actually devoting his life to helping dogs. I've sacrificed everything to be in this career. And I'm what you would call a successful dog trainer at this point. I have consistent clients who I help. I have a track record to back it up and continue getting these consistent clients, right? So how did I do that? It wasn't easy at first, and this is where I take issue, where everyone, it's so easy for you to time. Let me tell you how I grew up, okay? First of all, I grew up in Queens, New York in a one-bedroom apartment, right? So as the first 6 years of my life, I was sleeping, my crib was in the living room, right? I didn't even have, and fine, at least we had a place to live. People grow up homeless. I'm not saying poor me, it's the worst, but we're not talking about, everyone has a silver spoon in their mouth. Like, so many people are assuming now in the world that anyone who fits a certain ilk or looks a certain way or is of a certain age or cisgender or whatever the fuck it is now, pardon my language, but this is where we're at now. They're bad, they're racist, dog abuser, whatever you want to pull that card. We're so fed up of it. The decent people who live a life of integrity and have been through a lot of shit, okay? So right there, I was not born with a silver spoon in my mouth. I wasn't parented. My parents are too busy to parent. My parents are divorced and my mom was a single mom. She had to work to survive. I would come home from school and be on the streets till 8, 9 at night. There was no guidance from like 9 years old on. My mom did the best she could, but it certainly wasn't parenting. And it was just somehow back then, you didn't have to study for tests. You could fail tests and they'd still just graduate you, right? So somehow I eked through. I got through high school. I graduated. But I learned nothing. I didn't have any life skills. My credit, I shot it as soon as I went to college. All these things because I didn't get taught how to live life or how to do things, right? And it's just fine. Again, all of us don't always get optimum situations. It made me more capable, more resourceful, more able to work for myself. I've had my own job since I was 12. I did a penny saver route. I'd drive around my bicycle and I would drop penny savers off 5 a.m. on a Sunday when I was that age. Okay, and I've been working nonstop mostly for myself ever since. Okay, so when I wanted to be a dog trainer, which is very not, especially then, there was no Dog Whisperer show. There was a few people out there doing it. Uncle Matty, Warren Eckstein, Colonel, that Colonel guy, I forgot his name, Captain Haggerty, I think, a couple others, right? And that was it. But I knew I wanted to do this. This was my passion. So I went and worked for a vet clinic. I started a dog walking business. All of this while I was struggling, barely making a couple $100 a month to live in roommate situations or crash on couches. Okay, then I went to dog training school. I saved up enough for that and I learned how to become a dog trainer. But you don't just come out of dog training school and now you instantly have business. You have to learn how to find that business. You have to learn how to present yourself and do your work in front of clients to warrant them to pay you for it. That took another decade of barely eking by a living, where I was still doing dog walking and odd jobs just to barely pay bills in very shitty living situations, driving beat up cars and all that. And then even then when I'd get established, I had a setback in life and I was almost 40 years old, right? Because in Colorado, I spent 10 years raising my autistic child by myself as a single dad all through my 30s, barely able to work part-time because I was so constantly focusing on that. And the investment was 110% worth it because she's the most amazing young teenage woman now. But again, at the time, it was really hard when you're in a non-traditional career path, trying to have your own business, working for yourself, and no one's assisting you. No financial, no advice, no logistical assistance. You've got to figure it out all on your own. Okay, and I did that. And I opened up a dog daycare and I kind of fought and clawed and just made it happen. Then, because I didn't maintain it enough, it got taken away from me. Okay, the economy collapsed, a lot of things happened, and I just basically was back to eking out a living. I said, that's enough. I got to get to where I can take this to a level where it's going to maintain something. I can become successful, whether it be clients always seeking me, where it's not a limited pool of potential dogs that I could work with. I was in the Midwest in Colorado. It's a little smaller market. Not as many people there at the time were willing to do dog training. And of course, there's the opportunities here being in Los Angeles where you can get, Hollywood opportunities. You can connect with the right clients who can give you more opportunity. Referral networks are very strong if you do a really good job here. So all that was why at 40 years old, I did a Hail Mary and said, let's do it. My brother lived here. I had some connections. I said, you know what? Really, things are really starting to wane here in Colorado, even though I worked my butt off for as long as I did. So I came here. I've said it before. I lived above Eric Roberts, the actor, garage for a year and a half. And I struggled. And I would go to every vet clinic, daycare, dog park, and put up my signs and give cards and make little pamphlets. Anything to market. Anyone's walking their dog, I would stop my car. And if they were getting, I'm a dog trainer. If you ever want help with pulling, here. I did free classes where I'd have all these people come and not pay me a dime. And then they would say something because I didn't give them enough attention, even though there were 25 people with their aggressive dogs. I'm one man trying to offer my help for free. And I'd spend 3 hours in the sun exhausted. And again, for naught, right? All this is what I even had to do. I'm 47. It was only 6.5, 7 years ago, okay, where I still had to kind of take that step back to continue moving forward. Okay, so it wasn't easy. And also I didn't mention I did lose my home. So I did have to sleep in my car for about a 6 months period. Then I built a little cabin up in the middle of nowhere in the mountains of Colorado. And I did the off-grid life for about a year. So all these things were hardly an easy life, or what would make me, as this person said, so wealthy, where, it must be nice to afford a dog walker. Fuck you. That's what I say to people like that. Fuck you, you non-compassionate people who don't even take a step back from yourself and your virtue signaling narcissism to even see another person's experience and where they're coming from, to even make a statement that is all with the intention to help, that people pay them to give that same information for in the real world. Okay. So again, fast forward. I'm in Los Angeles. Things are great now. Yeah, we all struggled during the pandemic. I took a hit, had to relegate to my Zoom training. Wasn't the same as it had been, but it's back, better than ever. I am seeing clients nonstop. My only stress is that I feel terrible that I can't see people as immediately as I'd like to, because I'm one man trying to accommodate all of these people who have gotten dogs this year who are needing of training for their puppies or their dogs with behavioral issues. So again, it's a blessed problem to have, but it is something that does. I take issue with myself because I know I cannot just farm this work out. So if you're a client, I do thank you, just as a side thing, for bearing with me and having patience with my rants too. But more importantly, just really knowing that just working with me, I do appreciate, as busy as I'm ever going to be, everything I just talked about. I will never forget how hard it was. When I remember I was for my 40th birthday, I was trying to sign up for like those free meals at IHOP and Denny's and rewards so I could get, because my bank account was negative. I'm like, holy shit, we're negative today. I don't have any credit. Nothing's left. What am I going to eat today? Okay? These people don't know that. And that's what I have a problem with. A lot of people that just blanket cover trying to tell you how to live your life or what you should do, what you should put in your body. Okay? When you don't know another person's experience. Okay? I'm not even going to talk about that realm, but there's a lot of health issues I have and things where people are starting to push me and make me feel uncomfortable because of personal choices I have. And these are always the same people who are morbidly obese. They don't make health choices. They're not making the effort or being as conscious about their health and everything inside of them as, but they want to tell you how you're supposed to operate. And that, again, it's not a dog thing. This is a humanity thing. And there's a lot of people nowadays that are really getting off on this because they're being encouraged by a misguided system of leadership. And I've even recently done a post where we are really struggling here to find good pack leaders. A good pack leader is rational, fair, compassionate, means that you don't just demand, you take into account this experience and perception and situation others are in and regard that as well, not like a dictator, right? And all these things, are getting so much worse exponentially, in my opinion, day by day. And I just wanted to rant about it a little bit. But more importantly, it's just really, I have to speak out about these people, because if you're another trainer or someone who's out there training your dog properly, doing good work, as your trainer recommended using a certain collar or training style like balanced, and someone gives you, a passive aggressive comment, or someone actually says something, or someone does something aggressive to you like they did to me and my client, you have a right to stick up for yourself still. You do not have to be afraid of someone ostracizing you or calling you something like a dog abuser or whatever, racist, this, that, the other thing. Because usually people that are so quick and irrational and don't just take a step back and analyze what they're looking at, they just knee-jerk react to it. It's usually someone who has a lot more issues than you do and has a lot less concern for their fellow humans, even though they do try to carry that on their sleeve like that's their primary modus operandi, and that is hardly what they are. Otherwise, they would just be living a decent life and having, again, that compassion to take a step back to what somebody's coming from before they would just respond. And again, even in an inquisitive way you respond or say, hey, I don't agree with this, but I am just curious why. Could you explain? Again, more like a human, not like what I call an animal who just feels like they can just start attacking someone because they disagree. Not even disagree. They have their own issues unresolved that they're acting out on because somebody presents themselves as a figure to what they've not resolved in themselves. And again, I think that's how a lot of people start freaking out at people who live their lives independently or decide they're gonna decide how they handle their life, their body, their family, their loved ones, and no one's gonna tell them, whether it be society, government, or anyone in between. Or some idiot rescue with a mask in her profile picture who wants to tell me, 30 years as a dog trainer, I've done 10,000 plus potty training cases, to give me this rhetoric to try to make me look like I'm some bad, entitled person because I just told you what I tell many other people. And their response is like, hey, thanks for the help. It kind of worked. All right, guys, thanks again for listening. Hopefully this made some sense and resonated with at least a few of you. Again, please rate, review, share, subscribe, tell a friend, and have a good day. Stay strong, everyone. Stay independent. Be a good leader to your dog.